Hey, what's going on? My name's Coach Lee Hopkins. My pronouns are he, him, his, and you're listening to the Patterns of Possibility podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you replace harmful patterns with new possibilities. In each episode, we'll explore topics that inspire you to be yourself, live your truth, and make lasting connections. In this episode, we're going to talk about what I should talk about, or what you should talk about, or what to talk about when you want to talk to people. A question that I get most often is, I want to talk to people, but I don't know what to talk about or when to start talking. What do I do? Well, in this episode, I'm going to help you out with that. Are you ready? Let's go. What should I talk about? I want to talk to people, but I don't know what to talk about or when to start talking. If that is you, I'm telling you, you found a friend in me. You have definitely found a friend in me, or a kindred spirit, essentially, because I used to do that all the time. I wouldn't know what to talk about. I wouldn't know how to approach a conversation. I wouldn't know when it was appropriate for me to start speaking in the conversation. I'm just like there, watching, not sure if anybody ever wanted to hear a word that I said. And this stems back to when I was a kid. I'm sure if you are dealing with this, you've probably had some experiences that kind of got ingrained in you, that what you say and when you say it is not valued. It's just not valued. It's not important to the people around you. And it's important, your purpose, rather, this was ingrained in you. Your purpose is to impress the people around you. Your purpose is to make sure that people are interested and they're funny, or they're laughing and they're excited about what you have to say every time you open your mouth. So you're like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what's funny in this moment. I don't know what's exciting. I don't even know what these people like. And those thoughts race through your head and stop you from speaking about things that are interesting to you. So that has been my experience. I wonder if anybody out there, you can raise your hand. I wonder if anybody out there has had that same experience. So what I would like to suggest to you, and what I've discovered in my own journey, is that you just talk about what's interesting to you. If you want to move past the stranger zone into the friend zone, where you're talking about things all the time and it's easy flowing and they like what you're saying and it's fun and it's easy breezy, then you have to start by showing a bit of your personality. And showing your personality means talking about you. I get it though. There's a lot of past evidence that states that people don't want to hear what you have to say. So you have to overthink and rethink and consider what they might enjoy before you even start talking. I want to encourage you not to do that. If you come up with this, but I don't think people is going to like what I talk about, but I don't have anything interesting to share, you're not alone. Again, many people get stuck questioning what is appropriate to share. I get that. The appropriate thing to share when helping people get to know you is talking about people, places, and things, ideas that are important to you. You want to talk about those things that light you up. You see, the connection, the joy, the friend thing, it comes from you. You find you're out there looking for people who remind you of you, who enjoy the same things as you. You're looking for a reflection of who you are. And if you don't show this person that you are, the things that bring you joy, the things that are exciting, interesting to you, the other person never gets to demonstrate that they like those things along with you. Now don't fall into the trap where you wait for somebody to open up first. You're like, yeah, I'll just wait for them to talk about baseball. Somehow they'll talk about it and I'll tell them how much I love it, and then we'll be best friends. Like, don't do that. You want to go first. it takes so much time and energy and effort and waiting. You're going to lose a lot of time waiting for a day that may never come. They may never talk about the things that you want to talk about with them. You have to initiate that. And I get it. The another thing that comes up is that, oh, it's scary. People don't really like the things that I like. And when I start talking about them, they kind of shift their face, or they move away from me. Yeah, okay. That's valid. It's not something that happened too far in the distant past, like in your childhood. It happened yesterday when you were trying to talk to Brenda. And she was just like, I'm so over this. I'm not interested in what you're talking about. I just can't even look at you. I don't even know how to leave the conversation. I'm just going to stop talking. I'm going to stop looking at you and I'm going to leave. That's painful. That feels awful. So you're thinking, like, of course you would think, oh man, it's me. I am the problem. It's me. They've rejected the fact that I talked about something that they didn't like. Okay, that's fair. That's valid. But I want to remind you, and I want you to keep this in your back pocket, because this is like the most important thing. We're playing a match game here. We're playing a game out here. We're trying to connect with people. Just imagine that as you go and try to make friendships with people. If you just gamified it a bit, you're trying to find people who like the things that you like. And not everybody is going to. You're going to get some misses. There are not lots of pairs out there that are going to match you perfectly. So that was just the wrong person to talk to. I just want you to remember that about that specific topic. That wasn't the person to talk to. They reacted in a way that you didn't like. It's not about them, essentially. It's about you. That wasn't what you were looking for in the reaction from them. With you talking about baseball, you're talking about basketball, you're talking about Pokemon cards, you're talking about the Detroit Lions. Whatever it is, if they don't like it, it's not their cup of tea. It's okay. It's okay. You're not going to connect on that specific topic. But good news for you that there are a myriad of other things to talk about. And you're not a one-dimensional person. You have lots of ideas, thoughts, people, experiences to share with others. You can align, you can connect on other things. So what is it that you want to talk about? Well, pull one of those things, pull one of those stories, pull one of those events out of your hat and talk about those things. The caveat or the key or what I've discovered in my life is that it needs to be a joyful event, especially when you're connecting with people for the first time. You want to connect in joy. It's scientifically proven that humans love and are attracted to joy. They run towards it. That's why we run towards excitement and fun. We're chasing the highs of things. We like to do things that we enjoy, and we loathe the things that we don't. We don't like to do things that drain our battery, right? And so imagine this and put this in context of what you should share is that you were talking about something that drains somebody else's battery. They're not going to want to be connected to that. But that's them. You might say that to another person and it was like, oh, it brings them joy. But generally, you're looking for not how you want them to respond. I mean, you do want to notice how they respond, but the key is to express your joy, because it's a match game. You express your joy, you light up yourself, and you share that with them and see if they light up too. If they don't, then they're not going to connect with you on that. There are other things to talk about, other joyous events that you can share, and other ideas that you can share. All is never lost when you're talking to a person. You can talk about something else that you can align on, right? You can find that thing. Just be patient with it. So what to talk about? Talk about those things that bring you joy. I know I said this before, and I know I continue to say it, but you just can't go wrong with it because it's all about you and how you feel in a situation. Do not change who you are to fit the other person's mold. So now let's take a moment. Now that we know what we're going to talk about, let's take a moment to talk about when. When is the time to talk about it? So this is really important too, because you're trying to get them to pay attention to you. You want their attention. You want their honest and authentic, genuine interaction and reaction to what you say. So you want to make sure that you don't overwhelm them with your life story or dismiss them when you want to share. So there needs to be a balance to the conversation, right? So you want to examine how much of you to share when it's time to share. So I can't tell you really exactly how much to say at any given time, but what really worked for me is that you pay attention to whether you're prompted to contribute to the conversation or you're not prompted. That means, like, if you're prompted, they ask you, and if you're unprompted, you just kind of butt in. So let's look at the unprompted piece first. When you're helping others to get to know you, this is what I like to call when you help them get to know you, because you're the only one who knows you well. So you help them get to know you by sharing something with them. And if it's unprompted, that means that nobody asked you, but you want to be known. How bold is that, right? But I recommend, and there's a use for this, right? It's not like you can eavesdrop and hear somebody say something about the Detroit Lions and you just have to comment. And if it's a joyful thing, I recommend it. I mean, I think it's cool to just jump into the conversation and make yourself known and see how people react, because that is you genuinely. If that's you authentically and you want to share, do that. And also, when you do that, make sure you don't share a whole lot. Like, you're hijacking the conversation, you're talking at them, because they were actually in conversation without you. They're talking to each other, and you just made your presence known. It's not taking over and hijacking the conversation, but it's saying essentially that I'm here and I want you to notice me. I want you to know a little bit about me. That's it. And you'll be watching for them to respond to you. And hopefully they'll respond to you in a joyful way. They'll smile. Maybe they'll ask you a question, invite you to into the conversation. So this is one way you would use it if you're just kind of eavesdropping and you hear somebody say something and you want to jump in. Use it at your own discretion. But here's a more practical way, and maybe if you're afraid to talk, this is where it might be most valuable to you, is that you're in a group, maybe let's just say three people, and you're there to have conversation, but it just seems like those two people are just talking. They're talking and they're talking and they're talking, and there's no room for you to jump in. It just seems like they never exactly directly ask you. That's the thing. They don't invite you for the conversation. They just expect you to jump in, and you don't know how to do it. So this is where you help them get to know you by jumping into the conversation, by sharing unprompted. Nobody asked you, but you belong in that conversation. When you hear something that relates to you, then you share. And if the conversation has gone on too long and it's not like they're not even acknowledging you, just talk about anything. Jump in, disrupt the whole cycle. Because if the purpose is for all of you to get along, I recommend you just like, hey, did you know random fact about me? And they look at you like, what? Well, you all two have been talking to each other, and I want to be a part of this conversation. So I'm going to jump in and share so you can get to know me too. You could do that. I've done that a few times and it has worked really well. I recommend that you do it because the reaction is always fun and I get to learn more about who they are. I don't want to be there just spending my time being essentially rejected, not invited. That doesn't feel good. So do something. And this is the something that I recommend. So let's say you are prompted. That means somebody did ask you, hey, what's going on? How are you? Or I'd like to know a little bit about you. What do you talk about? And how long do you talk about? You talk about your history, hobbies, and habits. One of those things. Share a story about who you are, right? You're trying to open up, and it's a joyful story when you're getting to know people. You want to talk about those things that bring you joy because you want to test whether they're going to respond in a way that feels good to you first. And if they don't respond in a way that feels good to you, you're not going to be as hurt as you would be if you shared something that was devastatingly sad, right? So share that joyful story. And then you want to make sure that you don't talk too long, right? You want to just talk for like a minute or two and give them an opportunity to digest, absorb what you are saying to them, because it is a part of a conversation. So you're looking for signs of curiosity and engagement. Anytime you talk to somebody, you're looking for that sign of curiosity. You want to know whether or not they're interested in it. You want to know whether or not they're engaged with you. And there are things to look for when you're talking to people. They're visual cues. But overall, you'll know that they're curious when they ask you questions about you. They'll ask you questions about you and your story. That's why you want to give them just a couple minutes of who you are so that they can demonstrate curiosity. I'll be right back with the Answer Reddit question. Are you tired of being around people who just don't get you? Have you been putting yourself out there but not able to find anybody that matches your vibe? You're not alone. Making friends, especially as an adult, is hard. My name's Coach Lee. I'm a social connections coach, and I want to help you find your tribe. I have a 3-step coaching program for groups and individuals that's designed to help you get to the right place, to meet the right people, to have the right kind of conversations that leave you feeling fulfilled, appreciated, and understood. After going through the Find Your Tribe coaching program, you'll discover who it is that you really want to be connected to, how to find those people, and what you need to talk about so that your relationship moves from an acquaintanceship to a close friendship. And with this program, you won't be on this journey alone. You'll have access to a private community in which there are others who are just as intentional about making the kind of connections you are. You'll also have access to live events like weekly Q&As, speed friending, and much more. You'll be able to practice your skills in a safe environment and feel confident to connect authentically when you get out into the real world. If you're ready to get started on making meaningful connections and lasting relationships, then apply to the coaching program by using the link in the show notes. All right, now it's time for the Reddit friendship advice question. If you have a friendship advice question that you think I should answer, tag me in it on Reddit. My handle is Brilliant and Resilient. That's Brilliant, the letter N, Resilient. It's hard to talk to new friends. So I have been friends with this guy for 3 or 4 months now, and I realized that I'm not the greatest talker to them. I mean, we share same common interests, and yet I still don't know what to say half the time. Even during work, when he works with me, I usually only really say hi or hello and not sure what else to say after that. And that's it. Very, very short and to the point, as you would expect from a person who doesn't really know what to say. So Redditor, I thank you for writing this. And, it goes right along with the theme of talking about yourself and trying to figure out what it is to say and when to say and how to engage in conversation with others. I got really curious when I read this about how do you know what common interests you have if you don't talk to each other? Did they just kind of tell you, this is what I like, this is what I do, and you say, yep, me too, and then that's it? And you discovered that you have common interests that way? It's kind of hard, really. I understand you being in this position where you don't know what it is that you want to say, because perhaps you're really focused on being entertaining or interesting or having your words be appreciated by your friend. And I think that block right there, that idea that what you have to say is not important, really keeps you stuck, keeps us stuck, keeps me stuck in places where I'm like, I don't know if I have anything worthwhile to contribute to this conversation. But I'd hope to instill in you that you do have something important and interesting to say. You have a common hobby. I don't know what their common hobby or interests are, but you do. And you can start picking apart what it is about your hobbies that you have in common. Because the connection, again, is how you feel about your experiences with the hobbies, how you feel about it. So if you have a hobby, hobbies are things that you do that bring you joy. There's a reason why it's fun. There's a reason why it's exciting. There's a reason why it's interesting to you. there's a reason why you got into it in the first place. You know, is there a story behind that hobby that you have? How did you get into it? When did you first discover it? And how much money did you sink into it? Myself, I used to be a really big fan of Dance Dance Revolution, and when I discovered it, I dreamt about it. Like I mean, I found a Dance Dance Revolution machine on campus when I was in college, and I stayed at that machine. I saw arrows in my sleep. If you know what Dance Dance Revolution is, it's this video game where you have a pad that you step on, and you watch a screen. As you step on the screen, the arrows will move to the top of the screen to a beat, to a song, and when the arrow moves to the top of the screen, you step your foot on the corresponding arrow. So we've got left, right, up, down, and I fell in love with that game. I spent all my money on that game. I was in community with people who also played that game. I drove miles and miles to different cities to try out different machines and play different games. I tracked my scores. I was so into this game. But it was such a joyful experience, and there are plenty of stories within that I could share with others. And so it's the same for you, whatever hobbies or interests that you have, and you find someone that you connected with them on, and talk about what got you started in the first place. What were some of the adventures that you had with your hobby? How long were you into this hobby? What does it mean to you? And what are you doing today to sustain the hobby? So for me, Dance Dance Revolution, that's not something that I'm doing right now. That's not part of what I do, but I do enjoy rhythm games. I do enjoy puzzle games, and I do enjoy board games, and I could talk about those things and the adventures, how I got into them, maybe why I don't do Dance Dance Revolution, maybe why I do board games, more about who you are and showing up in that way. So this person is like, I don't know what to talk about. If you are that person who doesn't know what to talk about, there are plenty of things that can help you get started by just focusing on you. Because the idea is that the connection will be created when you share something that's important to you and interesting to you with another person, and they also believe it's important and interesting, and you can have a connection right there. If you share a similar hobby, there you go. Nice start. These two people work together so they can start talking about the jobs that they do, the different experiences that they have coming to work, leaving work, what their actual function is at the job. You start talking about the people that you interact with and how you feel about the people that you interact with. There are just so many things that we don't think to talk about simply because we're blocked. We're blocked by the notion that what we have to say is not important. It's always important, especially when you're trying to make friends, especially when you're trying to connect with people. You have to open up. So my friend here, I just want to share with you that it's been 3 or 4 months and you realize that you're not the greatest talker. I wonder, are they talking a whole lot? Or do you just got to go, yep. If it is that they talk a whole lot, it might be hard to get something in edgewise, but I still want you to try. They won't know you unless you tell them about you. They won't have a friendship with you unless they know you. So start talking. You can do it. Redditor, thank you so much for asking your question. I know that you didn't ask me to answer it, but I did, and I hope that it helps. Best of luck to you. Take care. My name is Coach Lee Hopkins, and you have been listening to the Patterns of Possibility podcast. You can find me at patternsofpossibility.com and on all social media at Patterns of Possibility. And as always, I want to encourage you to be yourself, live your truth, and there you'll make lasting friendships.